Management 3401. Welcome to your next class. So today we are going to talk about chapter 10. We're going to focus on the first half of chapter 10. I have my notes here from the PowerPoint, so let's just go through some of the concepts I put in the PowerPoint. So chapter 10 is about leaders and leaderships, and in the PowerPoint there's a discussion on what leadership actually means, sources of power for leaders, and research models that academics have developed on leaders. So we define leadership as someone who exerts influence over other people and inspires them to work towards certain goals. And so we differentiate between leaders and managers. A person can be a manager and a leader, but you don't have to be a manager to be a leader. And so as you all work towards becoming leaders, and a lot of you already are leaders, you have to think about your leadership style, which is the way in which you plan to influence people, or the way in which you are currently influencing people. So that's grounded in your principles and your priorities and your communication style, and your leadership style is unique to you. So it should be true to you. It should invoke integrity. It should be representative of your true self. But researchers have also developed leadership archetypes, so these categories of leadership styles. And these popular categories of leadership styles also include the servant leader. So that's just one type of leadership style. And the servant leader prioritizes doing things that benefit others and developing others, distributing power to others, and prioritizing uplifting those who are struggling the most. And we also have to remember that when we're thinking about our personal leadership style, if we had to describe it, and thinking about the things that influence our personal leadership style, we also have to take into account where we're located. So everyone's geography influences his or her leadership style. And so remember, we did that infographic not too long ago, and we highlighted the different ways in which cultures differed across countries. And so, for instance, being in a collectivistic or an individualistic culture influences your leadership style. Similarly, being in a community where short-term orientation outweighs long-term orientation influences your leadership style. But regardless of what your leadership style is, we know that leaders have to have power, because you can't influence anybody if you don't possess power. And so the research on this topic has identified different power bases. And so they're basically arguing that leaders can have powers based on different characteristics and for different reasons. So power isn't just this one-dimensional thing. So for instance, there is a such thing as legitimate power. And so that just means that a leader's power stems from his or her title or position in a company or in some sort of structure, right? So the reason why this person is influential is because this person is the CEO, just a title. And then another power base is reward power. And so that just means that a person's power comes from his or her ability to give you rewards or choose not to give you rewards. And so the idea there, the assumption there, is that people will listen to you if they know that you have the power to give them a reward or not. Similarly, we have leaders who are powerful because of coercive power. And so that is the opposite, where this person is powerful because he or she can choose to extend a punishment or not. And so that influences followers' behaviors. And then we also have expert power. So it means that this person's power stems from his or her expertise and experience in a certain area. So we listen to the doctor because the doctor went to school for this, right? So we listen to this author because the author studied this in school. You know, it always goes back to, you are an expert in this, so this is why I listen to you. And then we have referent power. And so that just describes someone who we follow and we listen to because we like them. This person has likable characteristics. This person is someone that we find respectable, and so that's where their power lies, their ability to influence us. And so increasingly, a key component of leadership is the ability to empower other people. And so it sounds like it's the opposite of being a leader, because when we choose to empower other people, we give them permission to make decisions on their own. So we take it off of our plate and we say, I'm empowering you to make the judgment call on this. But it's actually a smart thing that leaders do, because by allowing other people to feel empowered, the leader is able to focus on more important things on their agenda and on their list of responsibilities. And the people that they're empowering feel more committed and more invested in the outcomes of the goals. And so researchers have developed these models to help explain what makes an effective leader, or how to differentiate effective leaders and ineffective leaders. And so from that research, we have something called a trait model, and we have something called the behavior model. And so in the trait model, the focus is on identifying specific characteristics of effective leaders. And so some of the characteristics that researchers have identified include expertise, self-confidence, tolerance for stress, integrity, and maturity. And the behavior model is identifying two practices that good leaders commonly engage in. And so researchers found for that model that good leaders engage in consideration of others. So that is showing your followers that you respect them, that you care about them. And then the second thing that these leaders do is that they initiate structure. And so they basically create space, they create a structure that allows the followers to actually do what they're tasked to do. So to make it easier for them, to make it clear for them what they need to do, and just to remove barriers to the extent possible. So now that you're experts on the first half of chapter 10, the next steps is to revisit this new idea that we learned about the 5 power bases. And I want you to think of someone you know, or a celebrity who could fit in each of the 5 power base boxes. So there are 5 power bases, and so I'd want you to identify one person per power base, And I don't have to know the person. It can be someone in your personal life, or you can choose all well-known people, whatever you want, and then you'll share that on Moodle. All right, so that's it. I'll see you next time.